How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JG Nomination, and today we're going to be doing another 2020 NFL offseason preview. This time, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears had a down year. I think it's safe to say. They went from 12-4, dominating the league. You know, Trubisky really wasn't that bad in his second season, to going 8-8. The defense not quite playing at that level that, you know, we saw last year. Trubisky looking like he took a step back, and all of a sudden this team just kind of looks like the third wheel in the NFC North. Now, a lot of that had to do with Green Bay having a great year, Minnesota continuing to suck the life out of whatever's left in their team to make a run. But Chicago, you know, very talented team, obviously, can't deny it. Mitchell Trubisky, man, he's going to have to take a huge leap for this team to really reach its ceiling, which could be potential Super Bowl champions. They have that kind of talent on this team. However, quarterback play is pretty bad. But if you guys are new to the offseason previews, what we do is we cover all aspects. I always mess this up. We cover all aspects of the offseason. We talk finances, we talk about roster moves, talk about free agency, the draft, all that good stuff. So first of all, let's go ahead and get into the total cap space via Spotrac. Again, I say this every video, it's their website. If it's inaccurate, blame them. Their job is to have this information up to date. That's kind of what they get paid for. So yeah, if there's something that's inaccurate, you need to seek that out with them on social media. Maybe they'll give you an educated response. But total cap space via Spotrac, $26.3 million for the Chicago Bears. That's a pretty good number for Chicago. That number can easily go up. They do have some cuts they could make, but I only have them making one, and we'll talk about that one here in a second. But 26.3, you know, that's a good number for Chicago. They're one of these teams that don't have their first round pick. It kind of sucks that they don't have it, but you know, they do have a couple of notable free agents, man. I will say, even though they do have the 26 million, it's a good number for them. Got a couple of key free agents, and those notable free agents are as followed: inside linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski, inside linebacker Danny Trevathan, edge rusher Aaron Lynch, safety Clinton Dix, and backup quarterback Chase Daniel. I'm sorry, I got the draft all in my head talking about Chase Young. But Chase Daniel, you know, the backup quarterback, he's been receiving some interest from the Cleveland Browns to be a potential backup. A guy that could probably mentor Baker Mayfield, which isn't a bad idea. I've been hearing a couple of backups going to the Cleveland Browns, one of them being Chase Daniel, of course. So if he does leave, I imagine that's where he'll go. And then with Danny Trevathan, you know, he's one of these older veteran guys. He came to this team a few years ago. Apparently Green Bay and Chicago were in the running. He chose the wrong team, aka Chicago. It's okay, though. Maybe he'll come to Green Bay. I doubt it, but Danny Trevathan, a nice, solid veteran. Yeah, a little injury concern here or there, but he is a pretty good player, good captain of the middle of the defense. And then edge rusher Aaron Lynch, a solid player. You know, he started out his career with the San Francisco 49ers, goes to the Bears. Kind of just a solid player. You know, like, he can get you some sacks here or there. He can get you a little bit of production. He's not a terrible player, but he's more of a depth guy. If he's your number 3 pass rusher, I'd say you're pretty good. Safety Clinton Dix, another former Green Bay Packer and Washington Redskin. You know, he came over to the Chicago Bears on basically a one-year prove-it deal. And maybe they bring him back. Maybe they decide to re-sign him. I'm not going to for this video. But, you know, maybe you bring him back. You know, the safety class for free agency is... it's okay. A couple of older guys at the top like Devin McCourty, but it's okay. And in the draft, you know, you'll have a few options. It just depends on how you assess the board. Without having a first-round pick, that's going to be kind of tough. Potential roster cuts, we have one. Wide receiver Cordell Patterson, saving roughly $4.75 million. There are other cuts I could have made. You know, this team already made a couple in terms of... Prince Amukamara and Taylor Gabriel. There's some more cuts you could have made. Akeem Hicks being one of them. If you cut Akeem Hicks, you save $10 million. The problem is he's a really good starter, and I just don't see this team cutting him. He's a very good player. He's one of the more impactful players on the defense, you know. Yes, Khalil Mack is the superstar player on the defense, but to me, Akeem Hicks, and I've been saying it all last year, even when he was hurt, before he got hurt, etc., that Akeem Hicks is the glue that holds this defense together. And without him and versus with him, it looked like two different defenses out there. So we're going to cut Cordell Patterson. The only cut that we're going to make, it's the only one that kind of makes any sense. You could cut Leonard Floyd as well. You save over $13 million if you do that, but I guess that just depends. If you think you have a deal with, I don't know, one of the top edge rushers, then maybe you make that move just to save money, but I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But we're going to go ahead and tell you the new cap total, and that is going to be $31.05 million, a really good number if you are the Chicago Bears. I don't have them bringing back any of their free agents, I don't think, so you know, it's going to look a little bit different, but I do have an idea of what I want this team to do based on their current situation. So now this is the part where we enter potential free agent targets. I have 4 for the Chicago Bears, and I think this is a pretty good 4. If they bring these guys in, I think, you know, just based around their money and stuff, based around their drafts, draft spot, draft selections, and all that, I do think this will actually be a pretty good offseason for the Bears. And we'll start off with quarterback Case Keenum. Case Keenum is an upgraded version of Chase Daniel. I almost called him Chase Young again, guys. Case Keenum, you know, he's not better than Mitchell Trubisky, but he's a guy that could push for that starting job. I think the Bears really want to give Trubisky another shot. I genuinely do believe that. But I think the issue is, I don't know, man. The issue is just Mitch Trubisky. I don't think he's all that good. But Case Keenum's a guy that could push for that starting job. Maybe not be a big-time threat to take it, but we could see like a mediocre, well, I ain't going to call it mediocre. We could see like a Ryan Tannehill-esque run with this team. You never know. Maybe Trubisky is the Marcus Mariota of the relationship, and Case Keenum's the Ryan Tannehill of the relationship. Maybe we just see the Bears shit the bed early. Case Keenum comes in and takes this team to like an NFC championship. That would actually be kind of crazy, to be honest, if we have like a repeat of that happening. But I don't necessarily see it. But I think Case Keenum, again, a guy that could push for the starting job, but a really good backup to have in-house. The next guy we're going to look at is offensive guard Michael Schofield from the LA Chargers. I'm not 100% sure if he'll be brought back by the Chargers. I think he should be, you know, because that offensive line already isn't good. I don't think I did in my original video for them, though, but Schofield's just a solid plug-and-play guard. Like, he's nothing special, but for a team who just had Kyle Long step away from football, this is a good short-term fix in Michael Schofield. You could go with a guy who has more of a veteran presence, like a Mike Iupati or somebody like that, but I think Schofield might be the best option right now. And maybe you decide to draft a guard, develop him for a year, and then he becomes the starter. But I think for right now, Michael Schofield, a good band-aid at the guard position. The next free agent target is going to be defensive end / edge rusher Jabal Sheard from the Indianapolis Colts. He's a solid veteran. And again, for a team that could be losing Aaron Lynch, I think Sheard can come in and be a pretty solid rotation guy, pretty solid defensive lineman right away. He's a guy that I think you could play all over the defensive front. He's very athletic, very flexible in that regard in terms of how you can line him up and present different mismatches. So he would just be a fun chess piece for Chuck Pagano and that whole defense over there. And then the final potential free agent target is going to be strong safety Carl Joseph. If you want a more traditional box safety to pair with Eddie Jackson, who can play the single high deep safety position, free safety, then I think you take a shot at it. You know, Carl Joseph is one of these guys who's still young. You know, he still has some potential left in him. He's not a complete bum, but you know, he's one of those players where I don't think he's going to demand a whole lot of money. I don't think the market will be as big for him. I think the Raiders could re-sign him. Once again, I think I've had Carl Joseph in like 2 videos now, maybe 3. But, you know, he's still a solid young player. It's not like his career's over. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery. And who knows, playing with more talented players, like, for instance, going to the Bears, playing with more talented players on that defense, maybe his play and his production increases. Maybe he just looks like a totally new player and looks like a much better version of himself. So I think Carl Joseph could benefit from going here. And then, of course, they don't have a first-round pick. So moving on to positions they need to address in the draft based on where they're at. Their first pick will be in the second round. They definitely need to look at offensive line depth. Kyle Long shockingly stepping away from football. I think at the tackle position, you might have to start thinking about the long-term future, and you might want to look for the Bobby Massey replacement at right tackle. It'd probably be the right thing to do. And then linebacker depth. We just let 2 middle linebackers walk in this video. You have Roquan Smith. Maybe you bring back a guy like Kevin Pierre-Louis. He's more of a depth guy. Didn't really include him in this video because he really didn't play a whole lot until the end of the season. But maybe that's a guy you bring back for your short-term fix. Just have him and Roquan play in the middle. That could be fine, but you definitely need some more linebacker depth. Wide receiver depth, I actually think the Bears have a pretty underrated wide receiver room. They have Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, who I think could be better, but the quarterback play leaves more to be desired. You have Javon Wims from UGA in the 7th round, who's pretty solid. Riley Ridley, who you just drafted last year in the 4th round. They did have Taylor Gabriel. They let him go to save some money. But yeah, you have 4 receivers right there. You definitely want to have like 5 or 6 guys that can play. And this is the draft to do it, man. I was just watching like the combine yesterday. I don't have a whole lot of takeaways from the combine. It's just good to see like who's going to make themselves some money. Who looks good in these drills. Sometimes you want to see, okay, well, if they're running this fast, in a straight line, how are they going to look in game? And sometimes you try to see if the film matches what they actually did at the combine, and if not, then they're liars. They're trying to finesse. But this is the draft to go get wide receivers. There's so many of them, and there's a variety of different types of receivers. And I think the Bears could be in play for a couple. Tight end depth. Again, this tight end class is pretty solid. There's not a guy that stands out, in my opinion, but there's about 6 tight ends all grouped in there together, and it's kind of hard to separate them. I guess it just comes down to preference and how they did at the combine. There was one tight end, man, I forgot what school he went to. I think it was like USF or whatever, South Florida. This dude got hit in the face by a ball in the gauntlet drill because he was turned the wrong way, and he just had a shitty combine. I don't know, man. Like, if the combine ever defined anyone, it would definitely define him. I can't even remember his name. I think it's like Mitchell Wilcox. Yeah, that guy was freaking terrible. Don't draft him, Chicago, or draft him. Go ahead, please. And I hope he becomes a starter and he becomes shit. Nah, seriously though, like, this team could use some tight end depth. Trey Burton, kind of a bizarre year last year. I know he took time away from football for personal reasons, which, at the end of the day, you're more than an athlete. So if you need the time, absolutely take it. I understand. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But he really wasn't all that good when he was playing. And then Adam Shaheen, that experiment has failed. He was a 2nd-round pick at tight end. That experiment has failed. It hasn't looked good. I think this is a good class for the Bears to go get a tight end in the 3rd or 4th round. Look for a more vertical guy. You have Trey Burton, who is, okay at everything, not great at anything. And then, if you want to keep Shaheen, sure. But go get a vertical threat, man. Go get a burner at the tight end position. I'm looking at Big Alberto from Missouri, one of my sleepers in the class. He just ran a sick 40. I don't think he plays that fast, but shit, who knows? Maybe for your team he does. And then finally, defensive line depth. It's not really a big need, but it's something that like every team could use. And in the case of the Chicago Bears, they do a good job of developing defensive linemen that could play. And, if there's one that they seem or deem worthy in like the 4th or 5th round or something, then maybe he can come in and be something. Maybe be a guy who ends up like making a killing as like a rotation guy. But hopefully you guys enjoy, man. This is the offseason preview. The next team that we're going to talk about, I haven't decided. Maybe we'll talk about the Rams. I don't really think there's much to talk about with them, but if it's not the Rams, it'll probably be either the Eagles or the Bills. Like I said, man, I'm probably not going to cover every team. I know it's kind of messed up, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and peace out.